Okay, so we're out at the vineyard here, checking out some of the growth and hardening off of some of the vines that we had out here this year once we started watering. Now, who knew they needed to be watered up here? Anyway, this is Pinchbeck. We've got the tag there at the top. That's probably about 5 feet to that that tape that's on there. That's as far as it, well, a little bit lower than where it grew to this year, but that's what's left on it. And then we're going to look at how many of these nodes, the inner nodes, look pretty good here. If you look down at the bottom, it's all nice and red. You can see it's the red brown that they're supposed to be. Going up here, I'm not quite sure about this part because it was behind the stake all summer, so it might not have had enough sun on it to harden off. Up here, it starts to look a little bit lighter red. And I don't think this up here survived. And then you start to go up farther, see more and more of the kind of a, oh, it's definitely here. You see how it's yellow, kind of a grayish yellow color there. That didn't harden off, that's dead. But, you know, we're looking at probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.5 feet, 3.5 feet hardened off possibly on this one. We might take it and just run this out as a cordon next year or cut it way back. I don't know yet what we're gonna do. A couple other varieties that we had going this year. This one over here is ESM 127. The one that I was kind of hoping would work for me because it works pretty well in Norway. Very bottom of this one might have hardened off, but it was not looking good at the first sign of the first frost. So we'll see if it actually was able to. Here's Zilga. Got a late start this year. Again, I didn't water it very well, and so only a couple of the bottom nodes hardened off. That's not gonna be a problem. This thing will survive, and we'll just have to get it growing next year. Overall, it looks pretty good. Typical for that one. Here's our Emmer 1, our star. We believe pure amurensis. I can't be sure of it, but it's our 123-day bud swell to defoliation vine. Only one in the vineyard that does that fast. We didn't get water on it this year, and it turns out that the amurensis require actually a lot more water than the typical American and European varieties do, and so we need to pour water on this one next year to get it to grow. But it did pretty well. It's hardened off probably up about that far, which is, you know, about 6 or 8 inches, which, considering it needs so much water, not surprising there's not much hardened off on it. Going up here, we have Alpenglow, which also didn't seem to do pretty well this year. All this down here looks really good. We're talking, you know, 9 inches up to there. And then this up here starts to turn a yellowish to tannish color. That's probably dead from the freeze. This one might be dead from the freeze too. But we've got several inner nodes down here that are completely the right color. They look pretty good. Again, water on these vines would do fantastic. Make them grow a lot more. There's Beta. Always wondered about this one. It's supposed to be really hardy, but it's never hardened off for us, and this year did. So that's something good to see. Swenson Red, another one that's related to Alpenglow, so I thought this one might do well on hardening off wood, and it did a fair job. It's not very hardy though, so that's my concern about that one. Go up here to Louise Swenson, which is typically very hardy, but the one that we grew from a cutting and had here this year didn't do so good. You'll see that there's a lot of, you probably can't see it, but there's a lot of gray spots on this cane here, and it's a light red color, whereas down here it's a little bit darker red. When I was looking that one up in the guide, it says it's supposed to actually be quite a dark color. However, this one looks to be a bit too dark. This is almost black, and that to me suggests that this one might not have shut down fast enough in the winter, although it was hardening off its cane, and so there might be some dead wood there. And then we'll go back up here to, let's see, we've got Lackady Blanc. I just piled snow around that one, so I don't want to mess with that one too much. It's not very hardy, but it grew well for us this year. We'll go up to check out ES80, one of Elmer Swenson's early ones. It's pistillate, female, so needs pollination, but man, I tell you, this wood looks so good on this one this year, and look at all that. I mean, you've got easy 9 inches on this, what has been a low vigor vine anyway. Even if you do give it water, it's not very vigorous. But this looks really good. I bet you we'll get quite a bit of bud survival on that this year. I'm not exactly sure how hardy it is. It's a cross between Minnesota 78, which is a really hardy one, and Candia, which is a Labrusca, very early Labrusca one. But they're typically not very hardy, so I'm not sure how hardy ES80 is going to be. This is Vandal Cliche, and I was looking at it and I'm like, my goodness gracious, it looks so good. Of course, it's thin, very, very thin cane here. It's very small. So I really wouldn't expect any of this wood to survive. But you'll see it's, if you can see that, it's actually quite gray. Kind of a, almost a, I mean, it just looks dead to me. But when I looked up this one, it actually turns this color in the winter. So that's maybe a good sign, and maybe down low it'll be good. Now, a couple of more here we're going to look at. First of all, we've got Marquette, which was one of the ones that tried to ripen berries this year and didn't do very well. But if you look down here, we've got some good looking wood on the first couple of internodes here. So I think this up here is dead. It's too light, especially up here. It's too light in color. Down here is getting that dark red brown that you want on these kind of Riparia crosses. A lot of these like end up with that color on them. And I think that's pretty much it. Once we started watering this year, things